What's up, souls? This is WildBlueYonder. Today I'm talking to you guys about weather at Minot Air Force Base. So if you're watching this video, you probably got orders to Minot, or you've heard about Minot, or something brought you to this video that has told you about Minot's weather. I'm just gonna tell you straight up, it gets cold. Like, everything that you've heard about Minot weather-wise is probably true. Other things about Minot, like how boring it is or whatever, that's probably not true. Once you get here and you experience some of the things, you'll actually enjoy it. But the weather, I'm not gonna lie to you, it actually gets pretty freaking cold. There's a completely different way that you have to dress. Like, the uniform standards change. There's different things that happen. They give you certain clothes and certain supplies when you first get here. It depends on your squadron. Maintenance squadrons, I know they'll give you like a winter suit, they'll give you boots, thermal pants, thermal shirts, jackets, pants, all this stuff to make sure that you're warm. Gloves, face masks, hats, all that stuff. But other squadrons, they might just give you a jacket or something because they know that you're going to be working inside and that you don't really need it as much. The season of fall usually starts around the middle of October and it lasts until the beginning of like November, so it's about 2 weeks of solid fall. It kind of just falls off a cliff. You go straight from summer, like boom, like winter, and it hits you in the face. It's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Then winter lasts from around November until the beginning of maybe like May, like April, somewhere around there. During winter, it doesn't snow a lot. It may only snow like 4 or 5 times. And each time it snows, it may only snow about a quarter inch, an inch, or 2 inches. The problem is it never melts. So anything that does snow, it just snows and then it stays there. If it ever gets warm enough for it to melt, it'll only get warm enough for like 2 hours of the day. So it'll be just enough for the snow to melt, and then it gets cold again and it'll just freeze all over again. So now instead of having snow, you have ice. So that's the first problem with Minot's weather, is the ice. It's just icy all the time. Anywhere you drive, anywhere you go, it's ice. The sidewalks, ice. Everything, ice. You never quite appreciate traction as much as you do once it's like summertime and you kind of like actually step on the gas and your car goes somewhere. You have to learn how to drive in Minot and you have to learn how to dress. That's 2 things that you just gotta learn how to do. And by driving, I mean sliding on the ice on your way to work. Snow days, they don't exist. You're gonna go to work. Second problem with Minot's weather. The second problem is that it's windy. There's typically around 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts of wind at all times, every day, all day, every week. So that kind of exacerbates the weather because it might only be like -20, -30, but then you have the 40 mile per hour winds and that drops it down to a wind shear of -60. So then you'll have like a week or two where it's just constant like -60 during the winter, maybe like a month where it's just like -50, -60 wind shear. If you're a maintainer and you work outside a lot like me, well, if you work inside of the jet, if you work inside of the aircraft, then we have these generators that can produce heat and we can plug those into the aircraft so that it's warm. However, if you work outside of the jet, then you can only just like huddle up next to the machine when you have time. I would suggest getting some gloves and some hand warmers. I would suggest getting some hot hands. These are lifesavers. No matter what job you have, no matter what profession you're doing, if you're working inside or outside, hot hands are the way to go. For those of you who don't know what hot hands are, they're basically like little packets of iron and they activate when they touch the air, they oxidize. So what that does is it just produces heat, and then you just stuff them in your gloves and then you close your glove up and then it just produces heat inside your hands. If you're a maintainer, you work outside, that is probably like the best thing ever. You want to get like a billion of those and just keep them in your jackets and stuff. If you just, in case you forget to bring them to work or whatever, you just always have one. There's so many things I could talk about with the weather. I mean, it's just cold. If you never worked in cold before, if you've never been around cold, then you're gonna have to watch all these videos. I'm gonna make one about the weather, which is this one, and I'm gonna make another one about driving, and we're gonna make another one about getting dressed, because getting dressed in itself is a task. Because if you grew up in California or Florida and you've never seen snow, you don't know how to handle cold that well, then that's definitely a video you want to watch. So coming out of winter, you usually come out of winter around the end of May, and that's like 2 weeks of spring where everything just melts. Like everything just is constant like flow of water everywhere. It's just melting. Towards the end of May, beginning of June, it starts to warm up, gets up into the 70s. And then it's like the reverse effect. You go from like -60 at 1 week, and then it's like 30s the next week, then it's like 50s, and then next you know you're like in the 80s. Summertime, it gets up to around 100, 101, 102. It gets pretty hot, like, and it's sunny. It doesn't rain at all. It's just perfect weather during the summer. During the winter, it's pretty bad. Like, it doesn't rain, it doesn't snow, but it's just cold and windy all the time. It's just ice. I mean, it's Minot. I'm sure what you've heard is pretty much true. But yeah, I know if you're watching this video, you're either one of my subscribers or you got orders to Minot and you're nervous as hell and you're at your laptop and you got beads of sweat and you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Either way, don't knock it till you try it. Minot's not that bad. It's cold. I mean, obviously it's cold and windy, but it's actually not that bad if you find some things to do. During the winter, you can ice fish, you can do the polar plunge, you can ski, you can do all this other stuff. It's pretty nice. But either way, I mean, if you're coming to Minot, just whatever, just deal with it. Make sure you get some hot hands. That's my last tip. See you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like and comment on this video. Peace.